Good morning. My name is Amy Lensing-Tate. I'm the Interim Executive Director at the UWM Alumni Association. My pleasure to welcome you to our second Mobile Master Chat. I know many of you have previously joined us in person for our traditional lecture series, and we thank you for adapting to changing times with us. While we can't be together on campus, we're delighted to continue to feature UWM's faculty, bringing their big ideas to your small screen. Today, we feature Matthew Friedel from UWM School of Information Studies. Matt's an angel investor with Silicon Pastures Angel Investment Network, a senior lecturer at UWM, an adjunct faculty member at Marquette, and is the co-founder of the Disruptive Technologies Lab at UWM. Matt's chat will focus on illustrating how businesses are using AI and machine learning to boost performance, drive efficiency, and enhance business operations. Matt will take questions at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to type them on into the chat window to the right of your video anytime during the talk. And now I'm delighted to turn things over to my friend Matt.
Thank you so much, Amy. Let me start by saying I hope everybody is safe and healthy at home. And I really deeply appreciate the opportunity to present today. So this is the agenda that I planned for today. I want to talk about kind of the state of the art technology in terms of AI. And we're going to reference what is called a hype cycle. And we're going to really differentiate, what is happening in the AI space and what is essentially hype. We'll have definitions of what AI are and ML, machine learning. We'll take a look at some common applications in AI that you may be familiar with, you may not be. I have one use case that I want to go through, which is called Stitch Fix in the retail space. And I think it's going to highlight the power of what's happening in AI right now. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that are happening at UWM. So let's start with a couple of quotes here. Machine learning. It's hard to read the quote. Machine learning is at the core. It's a transformative way by which we are rethinking everything that we are doing. CEO of Microsoft, UWM alumni, artificial intelligence is the redefining technology of our time. It's going to be AI in the edge, AI in the cloud, AI a part of SaaS applications, AI as a part, in fact, in even the infrastructure. So I get this question in my class and in the marketplace, will robots take my job? And I want to reframe that question a little bit. And what I want you to think about is not so much robots taking your job, but how technology and automation is going to transform how we do our work that we have today. And I have a couple examples. So many years ago, we used to have telephone operators. Now we have fancy mobile devices in our pocket. We used to have pin setters. Now we have machines that assist with that activity. We used to have people that would cut ice and deliver it to our homes. We now have smart refrigerators that can make ice and things like that. So when you think about AI and some of these technologies, it's not that all jobs will be eliminated, it's how it's going to transform the work that we're going to do. And I've seen some research that says an estimate of 40% of the work that we do will be transformed by AI. And what's happened a lot in technology is in some of these spaces that jobs have been, yes, eliminated, like the telephone operator, but new jobs have backfilled and come into that space. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to our use case. So here's a couple headlines. Every company wants to become a tech company, even if it kills them. That's from the Wall Street Journal. On your marks, business leaders prepare for the arms race in artificial intelligence. So when you see headlines like these in these prominent business applications, if I was an executive or C-level person, I would be concerned on that. But the key is what we need to think about is how do we differentiate between what's happening on the hype side and where there's real productivity to be gained in some of these circumstances. And that's what I'll talk a little bit about in my speech here. So Gartner produces what is called the hype cycle for emerging technologies. And there's a couple different areas. There's the innovation trigger, the peak of inflated expectation where the technology doesn't match what the hype is happening, the trough of disillusionment, the slope of enlightenment, the plateau of productivity. And what they do is they map a lot of different technologies. It's not just AI. There's augmented reality in there. There's blockchain. And then they forecast how far out some of these are going to be productive for us. So general AI, more than 10 years out. Self-driving level 4 autonomous vehicles, more than 10 years out. Conversational AI platforms, 5 to 10 years out. IoT platforms, 5 to 10 years out. Virtual assistants, 2 to 5 years. So this is already 2 years old. So some of these are kind of an intermediate on the forefront that we're looking at right now. I have a Google Assistant and an Alexa device in my kitchen right now. Deep neural networks, 2 to 5 years out. So that's kind of on the forefront right here. That's some of the technology behind the self-driving autonomous vehicles. So again, our job is to take a look at, where the technology is and where is it in terms of, the potential impact and the hype basically that we have. Here's a very interesting headline that we have. We're very close to the peak fintech with more than 10,000 startups on the boom. And what I want you to think about is we're kind of at an analogous time where the web was, say, 30 years ago. And we have two use cases which are pretty classic. So we have Amazon.com, which is obviously very successful and something we use on a daily basis. And we have Pets.com, which was not successful. And it's analogous to kind of, the smartphone and social media platforms of, say 15 years ago. And we have Uber and Lyft and Venmo. And the point I'm trying to make is that there's going to be immense amount of successful companies on the AI front, and they can be fintech or they can be other related, and there will be some that will fall to the wayside. But what it's going to mean for us is there's going to be significant amounts of opportunity, significant amounts of wealth that are created, and that are going to make our lives essentially better. So it'll be very interesting to see. And again, our job is to weed through those that are going to be successful and those that are going to be the Pets.com of the world. Oops. Okay, so let's talk about a definition here. AI is a simulation of human intelligence processed by machines, especially computers. These processes include learning and reasoning. Those are the key characteristics that I want you to think about. Here's a much simpler definition: a program that can sense, reason, act, and adapt. So it's not a traditional program where we have conditional expressions like if else. These can essentially learn from experiences, learn from data. That's going to be the key piece. Let's take a look at characteristics of AI versus a definition. The ability to perform tasks in a complex environment without constant guidance from a user. That's autonomy, and I guess self-driving autonomous vehicles fall into that category. How about adaptability? The ability to improve performance by learning from experiences. So what we're going to do with our algorithms, what we're going to do with our applications is we're going to feed it experiences, or we're going to feed it data, or we're going to feed it images of something, and it's going to learn from those circumstances. Again, these are not traditional computer programs that we say, if this condition happens, we're going to do this. These are learning from data or experiences or information that we're feeding to that. Let's take a look at the taxonomy of AI. So if you have a larger circle, you have computer science, or my school, which is called the School of Information Studies. Within that circle, we have artificial intelligence. Within that circle, we have what is called machine learning. We'll have a definition of that here shortly. Within that circle, we have deep learning, which is going to be the core technology behind self-driving autonomous vehicles. And then we also have another circle that kind of overlaps, which is going to be data science. And if you're doing linear regression on some of your customer data, that is data science. If you're adding some of these artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques, that's where those two circles basically overlap. And again, there's going to be a lot of opportunity that's going to be presented in that. We're learning from our data. So machine learning is the application of artificial intelligence that provides systems the ability to automatically learn and improve from experience without being explicitly programmed. And within that area, there are kind of like three circles. So there's supervised learning. And what I want you to think about, if we know what the classification of something is, that falls under the supervised learning piece. Fraud detection, image classification, customer attention, diagnosis, forecasting, predicting. So if we know what the classifiers are, we can put them in that area. A classic use case on the medical front would be is we're feeding our application images of cancerous tumors and benign tumors, and then it's learning from those images, and it can diagnose whether a tumor is cancerous or not. And then a doctor can, through their experience, validate that. So if we know what the classifications are, that falls under supervised learning. If we don't know exactly what the classification is, but we think that there are clusters, then we have what is called unsupervised learning. And this is going to be customer segmentation, target marketing, content recommendation, structural discovery. And a classic use case of this might be like your Netflix account. So if I'm a male who likes documentaries, they're clustering me into an area and then offering recommendations for future viewing ideas. So we're putting them into different kind of buckets or categories so that we can gain some knowledge from what we're presenting to our particular users. And then the third area, which is going to be called reinforced learning. And this is going to be real-time decision-making, self-driving autonomous vehicles, gaming and AI, learning tasks. I might be developing a manufacturing robot, skill acquisitions, and then robot navigation could be self-driving autonomous drones or something like that. Okay, sometimes you will hear about machine learning referred to big data. And what I want you to think about is there's a difference between big data and a lot of data. And I think the quote from Scott Page here from the University of Michigan, which is my favorite, companies are increasingly trying to harness the rolling hairball of data that they collect on a daily basis. And this is true, right? So companies are collecting massive amounts of data from their customers, from their manufacturing facilities, from their suppliers, and then they're trying to do something with that data. So they have to structure it, they have to clean it, they have to gain some knowledge from it. So here's what I want you to think about. At the root, machine learning and AI are statistics. And really what we want to achieve with this is the art of extracting knowledge from our data. Again, clustering our customers into category so that we can offer them better products and services, or we can classify them so that, again, we can service up something that they need in that circumstance. So the key really on the big data front is extracting knowledge from our data that we're getting. So how is AI changing the business processes? Well, it's changing the way that we understand and interact with our customers. We're going to offer more intelligent products and services. We're going to see this in one of the classic use cases of AI, and it's going to improve and automate some of our business processes. What I want you to think about, again, there's a lot of hype related to this, is that there are concerns that AI will displace workers rather than being seen for what it is at this point. It's a powerful set of tools that will improve decision-making, operational processes, aspects of customer service, enabling employees to focus on higher duties of value. That's going to be the key piece. It's a powerful set of tools that enables employees to focus on duties of higher significant value, and we'll see that in the use case that we basically go through. So when we think about AI and humans, we're going to create a team. And what do humans do really, really well? Well, they leverage their strengths like creativity, improvisation, dexterity, judgment, social and leadership abilities. What do machines really do well? Speed, accuracy, predictive capability, scalability. If we combine those two together, that's going to be an effective solution inside of our business and for our customers. So let's take a look at a couple common AI applications here that you're probably familiar with. Number one, self-driving autonomous vehicles. They are being tested around the world in a variety of different capacities, but they really combine a combination of a couple different techniques: searching and planning, trying to figure out how to get from A to B; computer vision so that it can identify speed signs or objects in the road; and then a decision-making mechanism to deal with uncertainty. A ball bounces in the road, there's additional traffic, there's weather conditions in those circumstances. All of those have to work almost flawlessly together to essentially avoid accidents. And this translates to other autonomous systems like delivery robots, flying drones, autonomous ships. We're going to see a combination of these across a whole spectrum of different industries. How about content recommendation systems? So we already talked about unsupervised learning, where we're clustering our customers or some of our items into certain kind of buckets. So a lot of the information that you encounter on a daily basis is personalized towards you. Your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your online advertising, music recommendations from Spotify, movie recommendations from Netflix and HBO are customized to you. And many online publishers like newspapers and Google personalize the content for you. So you may not know this. Every time you Google something, that's personalized for you. They're taking a look at your demographic. They're taking a look at your past searches. They're taking a look at your geographic region. And then they're offering you up something in terms of your search. And it makes a lot of sense. So I type in local fish fry or fish fry near me, and then it pulls up Lakefront Brewery or something that's close to me. The algorithms that determine that content are basically based on AI. Again, it's unsupervised learning in that circumstance. Let's take a look at another area, image and video processing. So facial recognition is already a commodity that's used by many customers and business and government applications. If a friend has ever been kind enough to upload a photo of you on a social media platform like Facebook or Instagram, there's auto tagging. So that technology is active right now. How about in passport control? I'm a member of Global Entry that allows me to bypass customs. So they have a picture of me in my passport. Those similar techniques are also used in recognizing other cars for self-driving autonomous vehicles, avoiding obstacles in the road. And it can be used across other spectrum industries like estimating wildlife. We can take pictures and then determine the population of deer in Wisconsin. AI can also be used to generate and alter visual content. One area that you might see this is in game development. So think about all the images and assets that are needed to generate for games. AI can assist with the creation of those assets. So whether you like Big Brother or not, the reality is that facial recognition is actively being used in China right now. And this is from Inc. So DHS is going to use facial recognition in 97% of the departing airports over the next 5 years. So this technology is here, and it's here basically to stay. So let's take a look at a really great use case. If you're not familiar with Stitch Fix, it's in the retail space. And its radical data-driven way to sell clothes reaped at $1.2 billion last year, and it's reinventing kind of how retail is done. And this is I think, even more fascinating in the context of dealing with COVID-19, because think about how much retail is struggling in general, let alone the fact that we're unable to visit stores at this point. But Stitch Fix has been incredibly effective in this. Let's take a look at that. Okay, there we go. So they have boxes of clothes that are called fixes, and they're using a mixture of algorithms and human creation. Again, we're doing what computers do well and what humans do well. And the app features what is called a style shuffle, and it allows customers to rate a set of clothing images on a daily basis. What are they doing? They're training their AI algorithms based off of those preferences of those users, depending on whether they're swiping or not. So it's been described as the Tinder for clothes. And what's interesting about it is it's incredibly sticky and incredibly addictive. So more than 75% of the customers, the 2.9 million customers, have used it. So by soliciting millions of their customers' feedback and precisely measuring each aspect of the clothes it sells with more than 10,000 brands plus its own in-house labels, Stitch Fix can offer personalized styling at scale. That's a pretty powerful business plan. So here's something interesting that I want you to think about. The almost 4,000 stylists translate their signal into the clothing choices. So their algorithms are taking a look at whether you're swiping right or left on the clothing items. It's learning from that. And then it's offering up a recommendation on some clothes for you. But at the end of the day, the stylists are translating that signal. So again, what computers do really well, speed, accuracy, computation, and then it's augmenting that with what people do well, judgment, right? So the stylists are making the final choice, but it's helping them whittle down the choices basically that they have in that circumstance. So what is UWM doing in this space? 2 years ago, Northwestern Mutual Life had a tech summit identifying that we have a deep need for skills and technology and workers in this space. here's some of the media coverage that we've got related to that. So out of that, my School of Information Studies created what was called the Disruptive Technologies Lab. And it's really aimed at investigating some of these technologies and helping fill the need that we have in the space. So the Disruptive Technologies Lab has a physical space on campus, but I really describe it more as a platform. It's a hub for us to collaborate on these digital technologies, artificial intelligence, blockchain, IoT, Internet of Things. We also have an expert in cybersecurity. These are all the areas that we're going to need workforce in the area here. So we do seminars like this, we do workshops, we do boot camps, we do hackathons, we have on-site and virtual labs, and then we are creating interdisciplinary courses. So I have a 600 level graduate level class in artificial intelligence and blockchain that is both on campus and online right now. And really the platform is for us to be able to collaborate across campus. So if you're an alumni who's watching this, there are some opportunities for you potentially to get involved. And I'll highlight a couple programs that are going around on campus. So the Connected Systems Institute occupies a space in the library. And it is a partnership with Rockwell and Microsoft and Intel. And its focus is really on IoT. But prior to the COVID-19, we were looking at hackathons there, sponsored by Microsoft, and sustainability. And we're always looking for, especially in the technology side, industry mentors who would come in and work with our students. And it's an opportunity to see the technology that we're researching in and experience the new space. So if you're alumni and you're interested in connecting back with UWM, the Connected Systems Institute and some of the workshops and roundtables and hackathons are an opportunity for you to connect. We also have the Data Science Institute, which is a collaboration with Marquette and Northwestern Mutual Life. And that includes not only data science, but the addition of artificial intelligence. And then we have a brand new Lubarb Center of Entrepreneurship on campus. And that helps foster entrepreneurial thinking and design thinking in organizations. And even if you're never going to do a startup, those skills are needed inside companies or in organizations. Scale Up is there, GBeta is there, they have the Student Startup Challenge there, and they also have iCore, which is helping researchers essentially commercialize some of the work that they're doing right there. I don't know if the iCore program, which actually does extend to other campuses like Marquette and MSUE and the medical college, is available to alumni, but that might be another opportunity for you to be able to connect with UWM. I think that's what I have right there, so I will thank you. And I'm assuming you can enter your question in the chat right now, and I will do my best to answer them. What is the difference between general and narrow AI? So if you think about general AI, in fact, you saw that in the hype cycle that was from Gartner. That would be fully autonomous robots that can, learn from whatever you train them. Narrow AI is like those use cases that I went through: autonomous vehicles or image recognition. So it's very narrowly focused, and it's not science fiction, it's practical applications that we might have in that particular space. So again, general AI is more of on the science fiction front. Narrow AI is what researchers and companies are working on right now to provide better products and services for their customers. What are the critical factors in the success of implementing basically AI? So what I want you to think about is that we're feeding our applications and we're feeding our algorithms data. And they are learning and they are growing and they're understanding from that. So the key piece is going to be the data itself. We have to have good data, we have to have clean data, and in order to be able to train our algorithms. So that's going to be the key piece. If you don't have good data that you're going in, again, that rolling hairball, the application is going to produce something that's not going to be useful for you and your organization. Okay, next question from the audience. Could you comment on the ethical considerations in dealing with AI? That is an exceptional question. So the Lubarb Center of Entrepreneurship actually last year brought in an expert related to this area. And I think what it's going to take is that there have been use cases for some big tech companies, frankly, that have had ethical issues related to this because their algorithms weren't biased, but the data that they were feeding them had been biased towards certain characteristics, biased towards certain genders. So I think what's going to be required is that there is a need for social scientists on those teams to be asking those questions. Are we accurately capturing all the characteristics of our true customer base? Are we getting all genders? Are we getting all demographics? And if we're not, then we're doing a disservice to our customers and to our partners that we have. So I think it requires somebody not on the tech side, but somebody on the social science side who basically says, are we accurately capturing what we need in order to service our particular customers? Do you think AI can be used in fighting pandemics and specifically, in creation of vaccine? Absolutely. In fact, there was an article out that I presented to my students. There was an AI algorithm that had identified that there was a pandemic coming even before we knew it. It was taking a look at news stories. It was taking a look at airline traffic. And then it had identified that there was basically issues that we have. So yeah, absolutely. Can it be used in the creation of vaccine? Yes, absolutely. So if we don't know the underlying characteristics of some of the symptoms or the treatments, if we can feed that into an unsupervised algorithm, we can maybe create clusters. Okay, individuals of this demographic have these underlying conditions: diabetes, heart disease, and then feed how successful or unsuccessful some of the treatments are. We can potentially identify in a much quicker fashion whether those treatments or vaccines can help in those circumstances. Again, we're extracting knowledge from the data that we have. So now we're collecting massive amounts of data about how many people are getting sick, what are the demographics, why are some areas being hit harder than others, and then we can use that not only in the creation of vaccines and treatments, but also, frankly, in how we might, do some of our social distancing. If we can accurately canvass, how many people have this, then we maybe have the ability to let healthier people, particularly younger people, reacclimate into society quicker, which I think everybody wants. Do you think AI, can you tell us how to get interested in, okay. Can you tell us how you got interested in this type of work? It really was from the tech summit that Northwestern Mutual basically had. So I spend some of the time in the classroom, and I spend some of the time out in industry talking to people, trying to understand what are the emerging technologies that we have. And that's really how we got the Disruptive Technologies Lab, because we identified a couple like artificial intelligence and blockchain and IoT and cybersecurity as the areas that are basically going to be in need. It frustrates me when I hear people say that higher education is not adaptive. So again, I already have a 600 level graduate level class in artificial intelligence, and I want my students to go out in the workplace and help Milwaukee and help Wisconsin and help those partners. And I can only do that by listening to what I think the emerging technologies are going to be. And I'm very fortunate to have a great administration that's supportive in the activities that I do. So I'm very passionate about helping my students. The best part of my job is that I get to help people of all ages and all demographics hopefully become the people that they want. So that's what I'm truly passionate about. Can hackers affect AI? So I talked about altering images. There is a downside to that. So there is technology already in place right now that people can modify video images and audio images almost flawlessly to make it appear an industry leader or a politician is saying or doing something. This is going to be a challenge. This is going to be a challenge that we're going to have to address going forward. I would like to say that seeing is believing, but I think in the next couple of years, we will see episodes of this where hackers have altered images or hackers have altered video, and as a consequence, manipulated it for financial or political reasons. So from that perspective, unfortunately, there are downsides on the AI front. Yes. I have actually not in this slide deck, which I should have produced, a slide with a ton of free and paid resources where people can start to learn about AI. So if you're a specific person that's asking that question, you should reach out to me on LinkedIn, and then I can send you those resources. So again, there's a slew of free and then also paid resources that are available. And one of the reasons I suggested the Connected Systems Institute is because we are actively engaged in conversations about how we can do upskilling or reskilling of workforce. And I think what we're going to offer to our industry partners are certifications and credentialing and classes and resources so that people, successful UWM alumni can come back and get re-educated in some of these items. What is the relationship between SOAS and other campus CS programs? Your various groups like Disruptive Technologies Lab, Connected Systems, Data Institute, and the Lubarb Center. So the School of Information Studies, our niche really is in the IT space. So we have mobile app classes, we have database classes, we have web design classes, we have hacking classes, we have an ethical hacking class. We have data science classes. And really what we do is we complement what's happening over on the computer science side. So the chairman of the computer science department sat on a committee that reviewed my syllabus before that class went live. And his comment is it complements what they do over on the computer science side. So we're really producing generalists with the idea that they can dive deeper if they want to in some of these particular areas. So we collaborate. We have a joint master's degree with the computer science department with 2 tracks right now: data science, which is obviously pretty prevalent, and then cybersecurity. So we're collaborating quite well with our computer science partners. And then the Disruptive Technologies Lab was really built to be able to collaborate. So it's really a group of individuals who are not interested in, working on their own school, but also working across campus in a cross-disciplinary facet. So the Lubarb Center of Entrepreneurship is very interesting because it is bringing together people from a variety of different backgrounds: business, the School of Information Studies, architecture, the Peck School of Arts, and all of those individuals bring different skills to the table, which are much needed. So we're creating diverse teams. And then the ultimate goal is to have cross-disciplinary, sharing of those particular items. So I think what you see is a grouping of progressive individuals on campus who want to work together to make UWM better and to make a better environment for our students. Could you discuss any positive and negatives of using AI in political campaigns? I'm assuming, I have not actually seen any research or any articles on this, that both political parties are mining their contact lists and the data that they have to better identify individuals who might want to contribute to a campaign. On a negative front, again, there can be situations where images or video can be manipulated, and I think that's unfortunate. So that's something that, as a society, we're going to have to address in order to be able to eliminate the negative consequences of that. That will manifest itself to some degree. I don't know how or when, but it will, I think. Is there a danger of content recommendations feeding diversiveness in our society? I don't know if there's a danger. I think the larger commentary that I've seen is basically about privacy. Very interestingly enough, there have been some negative press about Facebook and the use of some of its data. We're making a decision to hand over some of our personal data. They know our demographics, our age, our gender, where we are located, some of our times, our work employment, to some of these social media platforms, and they are mining that data and they are selling that. So you have to make a determination on whether you're comfortable in handing that data over. What's very interesting about that is I survey my students on a semester basis to say, you know, these platforms, including Google and including Facebook and including Amazon, are mining this data. And they're using it sometimes not for your benefit, for their benefit in terms of a financial gain. How do you feel about that? And they have worries. Then the next question I ask is, are you deleting your account on any of these platforms? And the answer for the most part is no. So I think until there's an event where people's privacies are really violated, we're going to continue to use those platforms. I don't know if that's causing a divide in there, but there's again, there will be social scientists who will evaluate the use of our demographics in that. Where do you see great opportunities for AI applications? I think on the medical front, this is going to be one of the areas that is going to provide a ton of applications that are going to be successful. In fact, my angel group, Silicon Pastures, is in the process of funding a medical AI company out of Madison. We haven't launched that yet, but I think that'll come to fruition. Again, if we can feed our applications experiences or images or data and get diagnosis, it can identify the underlying structure of that, and then doctors can augment their expertise. It's going to result in faster diagnosis of conditions basically that we have. In fact, you can easily Google AI applications and life expectancies. So we can look at parameters right now. Are you a smoker? Are you a healthy eater? Do you have pre-existing conditions in those circumstances? And then it can help, diagnose, are you a candidate more likely for heart disease? Are you a candidate more likely for, cancer or any of those circumstances? So I think on the medical front, we are going to get fantastic diagnosis applications that are going to make our lives much richer and better.
Thank you very much, Matt, for the fascinating talk. I think there definitely would be a part 2 there if we can invite you back at some point. So please join us the same time next week. We will have Dr. Rebecca Clapper from the School of Freshwater Sciences talking about emerging contaminants and freshwater resources. I thank you for all the great questions today. We'll make sure to get those free resources that Matt was talking about out to everybody who is on the call today. We'll reach out and do that in your reminder email. So thank you, everybody. See you next week.